All right, in this short video, we're going to show you how to turn Kaggle's store sales time series forecasting competition into a Kubeflow pipeline using the open source Kale JupyterLab extension. If you haven't already done so, make sure to head on over to Kaggle and generate yourself an API token. You're going to need this in order to download the competition data when you run your pipeline. Also, you're going to need Kubeflow up and running. I just deployed Kubeflow using Aricto's Kubeflow as a service. So now we're in the Kubeflow central dashboard. Click on the Notebooks tab. And from here, we're going to click on New Notebook. Go ahead and name your notebook. We're going to want to change the default here. Let's give ourselves one virtual CPU. Let's give ourselves 8 gigabytes of RAM, and also let's increase the size of the storage volume to 10 gigabytes. And with that, we're ready to go ahead and click the launch button. And once our notebook is up and running, let's go ahead and connect to it. This is going to bring us to the JupyterLab UI. Let's open up a terminal. And from here, we're going to want to git clone the Kubeflow/examples repository. And once that's pulled down, we're going to want to navigate into the store sales directory. And once we're inside of that directory, we're going to want to open up the Kale notebook. And from here, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a pip install of our requirements.txt file, which is going to have all of the necessary libraries and packages that we're going to need. And once that completes, we're going to want to restart the kernel. And with the kernel restarted, we do need to make a simple update here to the download data from Kaggle section. You want to swap in your Kaggle username as well as your API token and then run this cell once. And once it's done, you will get a confirmation that all the files have been downloaded and unzipped. We're now ready to move on to the balance of the notebook. The first section of the notebook here is going to be the import section. So this is going to pull in things like pandas and sklearn, etc. Our next cell grouping here is going to be our first pipeline step. It's going to be the load data pipeline step. You can see we're using the pipeline step annotation, and it has no dependencies on any previous steps as it's the first step. Our second step in the pipeline is going to be the create features pipeline step, and you can see we're using the pipeline step annotation, and it depends on the previous load data step. This takes us to our third pipeline step, which is going to be the train and evaluate model step. You can see, again, we're using the pipeline step annotation, and it depends on the create feature step. Now we're at our final pipeline step, which is going to be the forecast sales pipeline step, and you can see it depends on two previous pipeline steps, the create features as well as the train and evaluate model. And with that, we are ready to go ahead and compile and run the notebook. So you can see that we're validating the notebook. We're taking a snapshot of our notebook and our environment as well as data. We're compiling the notebook, uploading the pipeline. It's running. Let's click on the view hyperlink. This is going to take us to the runtime execution graph where we're going to watch our pipeline execute in real time. You can see we've gone ahead and created our volume. And now we move into our first pipeline step, which is the load data step. And once it completes, we move on to our next pipeline step, which is going to be the create features step. With the create features step complete, we move on to our next pipeline step, which is the train and evaluate model step. And with that complete, we move on to our final step, which is going to be the forecast sales step. And with that, our pipeline is complete. Let's go ahead and click on the forecast sales step. You can see we have our inputs as well as our outputs. You can see we have our snapshot information. We also have visualizations. So here, if we scroll down in the visualizations window, you can see the different forecasts of the different products in the store. You can get also details, volume information, logs, pods, events, as well as artifacts. And that's it. You have successfully created a Kubeflow pipeline for Kaggle store sales time series forecasting competition using the Kale JupyterLab extension.